The wind swept across the snow-laden plains like a living thing, whispering secrets through skeletal pines and scraping against the frozen metal of the cage that trapped her. Ahiv, barely 23, huddled against the biting cold, her fingers stiff and numb as she pressed them against the iron bars. The snowflakes that landed on her dark hair melted into rivulets, sliding down her cheeks, and she shivered, not just from cold, but from the weight of hopelessness that pressed her into the corner of the cage. Her eyes, wide and searching, glanced toward the forest edge, where shadows danced between the silvered trunks, and her heart thudded in a rhythm of fear and faint hope. "Please, take me away," she whispered, her breath clouding the frigid air, a fragile plea that seemed swallowed by the emptiness around her. Each crunch of snow in the distance made her flinch, curiosity mingling with dread. Who or what approached? From the snow-blanketed trail emerged a figure, towering and unwavering, his silhouette a study in contrasts. The rugged bulk of a man hardened by years of wandering, the softness of eyes that hinted at unspoken compassion. Titan Jack, 30, moved with the measured confidence of one who had survived countless storms, both of wind and circumstance. His coat, thick and dusted with snow, brushed against his knees with every stride, and the folds of leather creaked beneath the weight of his presence. He stopped a few paces from the cage, surveying the frozen landscape, his sharp gaze catching the delicate traces of footprints in the snow, those of the bandits who had captured Ahiv, and of a girl whose courage had not yet been extinguished. Titan's hand hovered near his belt, not for weaponry, but as if steadying himself against the tension in the air, the quiet promise that he would act when the moment demanded it. A flicker of curiosity crossed his features as he studied her, trying to measure her resolve through the frost-laced bars. Inside the cage, Ahiv's chest tightened as she met his eyes. For a heartbeat she dared to believe, and then doubt returned like the icy wind. A bandit's snarl could erupt from the shadows at any moment. The leader, Rafe Icefang Marlowe, was a man whose reputation cut sharper than any blade. He commanded his band with a chilling ruthlessness, eyes like frozen obsidian and a grin that promised pain disguised as conquest. Rafe's ambitions were no secret. He sought dominion over Ahiv's tribe, to seize control with a brutality the cold could not soften. The cage, planted at the edge of the forest for visibility and intimidation, served as both prison and warning. Ahiv felt it all in her bones. The isolation, the judgment, the helplessness that threatened to claim her as fully as the winter claimed the land. Her mind raced, imagining the myriad ways she might be used, sold, or bartered. Yet even in this frozen despair, a spark of defiance shimmered, fragile but persistent. Titan did not speak at first. His presence was a quiet declaration in itself, a contrast to Rafe's violence. He knelt slightly, brushing snow from the nearest bar, his breath forming clouds that mingled with hers. "Ahiv," he said, voice low but firm, carrying a resonance that seemed to settle the chaos in her chest, "I'm here to get you out." She flinched, uncertainty knitting her brow. Who was this man, giant and silent, who dared to cross paths with Icefang's bandits? Her pulse raced, mingling hope and fear. Curiosity pulled at her in the same tug as the cold. What manner of courage could drive such a man into the teeth of peril for a stranger? Titan's gaze never wavered, steady as the pines that surrounded them, and she felt the first stirrings of trust, a fragile tendril winding through the frost. The snow deepened as they worked. Titan's hands, large and calloused, slid the cage door open with deliberate care. The iron groaned like a living thing, releasing its captive with a final shiver that matched the gusting wind. Ahiv stepped out, her boots crunching in the thick snow, and for the first time she could feel her body freed from the confines that had confined both her flesh and spirit. Titan handed her his coat, a simple gesture that carried warmth far beyond its leather folds. She hesitated, then accepted it, the fabric enveloping her like a protective shield. Each small movement, each quiet exchange, built a connection neither dared name aloud. In the hush of the snowstorm, glances were declarations, touch was confession, and shared silence spoke more than words ever could. Behind them, the bandits drew closer. Rafe's howl split the air, sharp and menacing, and snowflakes swirled around him like dark confetti. Titan's eyes narrowed, and in a fluid motion, he guided a hiv toward the treeline, scanning the terrain with a predator's precision but a protector's care. Every step was measured. The snow could betray them, could reveal their path, could mask them if they moved with cunning. Titan whispered instructions, not commands, and a hiv followed, learning the rhythm of survival alongside him. She marveled at his silent authority, the way he moved with instinct tuned to both danger and compassion. Curiosity pricked at her again. How many winters had honed this man into a guardian, a giant shaped by hardship and honor? Hours passed in the snowstorm's relentless advance, yet time seemed to stretch and compress with each shared glance, each whispered word. A hiv began to notice the subtle acts. How Titan adjusted her coat when the wind bit, how he cleared snow from her path, how he shielded her from sudden gusts with his broad frame. Each gesture, quiet and unassuming, carried more weight than any declaration of love could convey. The slow burn of connection unfurled between them like the curling mist above the snowdrifts, gradual, intimate, undeniable. The forest around them, thick with frost and silence, became a cocoon, isolating them not only from the bandits but from the weight of the outside world. Yet danger lingered, a shadow stitched into every drift, a reminder that their journey was far from complete. Then came the moment of confrontation. Titan and a hiv reached a frozen creek, its surface glinting like glass under the pale winter sun. Footprints led toward a ridge where Rafe had set his ambush. The snowstorm thickened, visibility reduced to a breath span, but Titan moved with certainty, guiding a hiv to safety behind a cluster of pines. Rafe emerged, his grin wicked, his presence dominating despite the tempest. Titan squared himself, each breath visible in the cold, heart steady in the storm. No words were exchanged beyond what necessity demanded. The tension itself was a dialogue. Every movement mattered, a footstep, a glance, a shift of weight in the snow. The confrontation was not merely physical, it was an assertion of courage, dignity, and quiet mastery over fear. Curiosity gnawed at a hiv's thoughts. Would this winter, this snow, witness her salvation or her surrender? Through cunning, instinct, and the unspoken trust between them, Titan and a hiv outmaneuvered Rafe. The bandit leader stumbled on hidden ice, his men faltering in the snowdrifts, and the forest seemed to hold its breath as the struggle reached its peak. A hiv, heart pounding, realized her own strength. The courage she had feared was buried beneath layers of oppression, now unearthed by necessity and hope. Each small victory, each careful step, became a testament to resilience, to the quiet acts of grace that had brought her this far. The storm abated slightly, revealing the first pale light of afternoon, glinting off snowflakes that seemed to applaud their triumph in silent shimmer. Finally, as Rafe and his men fled or were restrained by the tribe's swift intervention, a hiv and Titan stood together in the clearing. Their breaths mingled in the crisp air, faces glowing with exertion and relief. Words were unnecessary. The shared experience, the trust forged under adversity, spoke volumes. Slowly, deliberately, Titan extended his hand, and a hiv took it. The warmth of their fingers clasped together was a gentle declaration of connection deeper than the snow could conceal. Around them, the tribe began to gather, a chorus of quiet celebration in the still, wintry air. Hope, dignity, and self-worth, hard-won through struggle and courage, now infused every flake of snow that fell upon them. In that moment, a hiv understood the truth of survival, the quiet power of compassion, and the slow bloom of love unspoken but undeniable. Titan's presence, once a shadowy figure against the storm, had become a steadfast companion, and she, once captive and fearful, had become resilient and whole. The forest, blanketed in silver, seemed to sigh in approval, the snow settling gently around them as if to cradle their triumph. And though the storm had passed, its memory lingered, a reminder that life, like snow, can be harsh, beautiful, and transformative. And to you, reader, know this: courage often wears quiet gloves, love often moves in gestures, not grand proclamations, and through winter's cold and life's storms, the human heart endures, grows, and discovers warmth in the most unexpected places.